All right.
Hey, all right, pal.
Hey, look.
What have you got for me?
Beer.
He's got a beer,
Actual
everyone.
beer. Oh, I'm pouring it badly, though. Oh,
Look at that.
What are you drinking? Are you on a shandy or an actual... That's a weak-looking beer, Will Mellor.
Shut it. It's a bit... Listen, I told you. I've upgraded. It's a lager top. Right, I've upgraded from a shandy. It's only because it's early. I told you, the first one. You're going for a beer.
I'm going for a beer, proper man's
good beer. For you. Good for you. Cheers anyway. Nice to see you, pal.
Cheers, you too, dude.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's real good.
Do you know what that needs? A little bit of lemonade in the top.
See, it does help, on a summer's day. Don't knock it.
Oh, dear. Enough.
So what have you been up to?
Same old, really. Bit of writing, lot of PlayStation, bit of lifting weights.
Yeah, I was going to say that top's looking quite tight. I just think you bought a smaller top.
Yeah, I've not got bigger. I've just bought kids' clothes.
You've just gone to Baby Gap and bought a shirt.
Yeah.
That's all
Listen,
you've
you be careful, mate. Sooner or later, we're going to have a top-off competition for the fans. And you need to have a look at your nutrition, fella.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry about me, son. I'm still pumping.
See, it used to be I was like the skinny one, and now I'm just lean. Whereas you're like,
Ralph.
Yeah, now
you're still the skinny one.
Well, compared to you, I am. Yeah.
Well, I'm 44. I'm clinging on for dear life.
Exactly. See, I've got.
You were see-through at one point, so you're just normal now. Listen, have you been watching the Last Dance?
Michael Jordan thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been watching.
Have you watched all of it?
Yes.
What do you think of it? Because I'm not massively into basketball.
No, me neither.
There's a lot of English people that love basketball. It's not a big sport over here.
Yeah.
But it was just unbelievable how talented he is.
How much better than, and they all knew it as well, and they were all totally happy to say, "Oh yeah, I mean, you couldn't get near him. He was the greatest of all time." Like, there's no one who's like, "Well, he was all right." They're all like, "Oh no, he's insane."
Even Kobe, because there was an episode with Kobe on which was, they dedicated to him obviously because of the helicopter crash, and even then was just saying, I wouldn't be anywhere near a basketball court if it wasn't for Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Just incredible, and people who are like legends of the sport still look up to Michael Jordan.
Well, I loved the bit where they're talking about Magic Johnson. They said that they thought the greatest game of basketball that had ever been played was that 1992 Dream Team, the USA Olympic team, and they had a practice session. And it was 6-on-6, like the whole first team squad: Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson, Jordan, and they were playing against each other. And Jordan was down, and he was getting livid, and Magic Johnson was just absolutely slating him,
winding him up.
Yeah, he was just winding him up. And then he was like, "You better turn into Air Jordan, or you're going to lose." Jordan gets the ball, just scores like 15 points on him, and everyone's fuming. I love that. I love how competitive.
That was the thing about him, though, wasn't it? He found a way of making everything competitive in his mind. Like, he'd make up stuff that people had said.
Yeah, do you remember the bit that he made up? It was bonkers.
He just made it up in his head just so he could be up for the game.
Yeah, just had to find an edge, anything to do. And the number of times, it became almost comical once you look out for it. Anyone who's not seen the documentary yet, look out for, at least once an episode, there's like a story that goes something like this. Some guy said, maybe he could jump higher or something like that. And every episode, at least once, Michael Jordan goes, "For me, that was personal."
Exactly. It made it up.
Just these weird vendettas that he had against everyone.
I know.
It was amazing.
And I think though that the Last Dance obviously saying that they were thinking of rebuilding the team, which is, I'm not spoiling it for anybody because that's how it starts. The whole thing that the Last Dance it's the last year, and they've won the title back to back
6 times.
And it was their last year, and they were thinking of getting rid of that team because they were an aging team and bringing a new team in to start rebuilding. And Michael Jordan saying, "Well, shouldn't you just have a bit more respect for the people who have laid down the groundwork?
Yeah. Just let us have one more year.
Let us have one more year." And this is the last year, and they let a camera crew come in for that last year, so you see it all.
They didn't treat Scottie Pippen that well, did they? To be fair,
no, and he was unbelievable, Scottie Pippen.
That feels like a very American thing, particularly like America's very. America as a culture, I always find, is very like, you get what you can, you get your lawyer to get whatever contract you can. There's not a lot of it doesn't particularly work on like goodwill a lot of the time. And I'd like to think that if you were just winning everything in a football team, if you were winning everything and a player was as valuable as Scottie Pippen, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a millionaire, but he was getting paid a fraction of what everyone else was getting paid because he negotiated a crap contract at the start. I'd like to think that after like you've won it 3 years, you should, as an owner, be going, Scotty, do you know what? And you negotiate a crap contract, but like, we're not going to renegotiate, but have this bonus, have that. We value you. We look after you. The Americans are like, sorry, dude, we own your ass. Fuck you.
Exactly. And exactly.
They don't mess about.
Without spoiling it for anybody out there who's not seen it, there is a bit where he tries to take it into his own hands.
Oh, yeah. And that's what he's going to be remembered for. So what else have you been up to? You've been watching documentaries?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I've had a bit of a tough time, man, as you know. When we haven't really spoke too much about it, but I've just been trying to keep my mind off what's happened with my dad and trying to because usually I go out and see my family. I just get in the car, I go and see my mum, my sisters, and I go out or I go somewhere with my family but this lockdown thing just made it harder. And obviously it's Father's Day coming up, so it's going to be really tough. It's hard, man. Do you know what is weird about grief is when it happened, which I don't mind talking about it. It came so out of the blue. It was such a shock because about 6 years ago, my sister passed away, and I had it was like the phone rang, and I was in bed about 1 a.m, and when the phone rings like that, and it's your landline, I don't know why, but it was like I knew something was wrong. And Michelle said, answer it, and I said, I don't want to answer it. And she said, answer the phone. And I just knew, and it was me. It was my dad crying on the phone saying my sister had passed away, and I just collapsed. I felt helpless, didn't know what to do with myself, and I didn't deal with it too well. For a good few months after that, I was in a dark place, couldn't get out of bed, or I didn't see the point in getting out of bed. I was drinking too much, got into gambling quite a lot, but didn't know I had a problem until my wife Michelle said, like, I think you're a bit depressed, and men especially don't like to talk like that. So I didn't want to admit it, but I sort of got me.
What was your reaction when she said that? What was your reaction? Was it like, fuck off? No, I'm not. Or
I didn't listen to anybody at that time. Every day was tough. It was like treading. All I could say was like walking through treacle every day. Everything was hard. I wasn't a very nice person to be around. Couldn't see the positives in anything, and I'm a positive person. You know what I mean now, but I got through it with kids, and family around you and stuff like that. I got through it without seeing anybody health-wise, and I wouldn't advise that. I'd say if it happened again now, I'd go and speak to somebody now. So it would be bad advice just to say you'll get through it, because some people can't and don't, and I was lucky I did. And I'm not saying I was deeply depressed. I'm just saying I was struggling is what I was. And then this same thing happened with my dad. The phone rang, and he'd collapsed, and that was on the 30th of March, and they thought he'd had a stroke, but it was a seizure. And then his birthday was the 28th of March. So and then they said they were going to do some tests, and they found out he had cancer of the lung, and it had gone to his brain, and that was what was causing the seizures. And it was just the worst couple of weeks of my life, really was. And my dad passed away within 2 weeks of him getting diagnosed. And the one regret I've got is going up there to see him. And my mum, and because I had to social distance, I had to go and stand in the garden. I wasn't even allowed in the house, you know what I mean? But there's no way I was not going to go and see my dad. So I drove up on my own and went to the garden. And he sat in a chair outside the back door, and I was sat the other side of the garden. And I didn't hug him because of the coronavirus thing, and I wasn't allowed to hug him. And he passed away without me doing that. And he actually said to me, he said, if I got older, I won't be able to let go. And that was one of the last things he said to me, and it absolutely killed me. But I was trying to be positive for him at that time, because I didn't know what the diagnosis was going to be. I didn't know whether, because they said we get him stronger, we might be able to operate. We don't even know, the mass on his lung. What we have to, whatever's going on in the brain, we can't touch. But so we were saying, Dad, you got to get yourself stronger. We've got to. And
so you're at least hoping that there might have been another year or something.
Well, that's why I didn't risk anything by hugging him, or because with lung cancer of the lung, this coronavirus is what it's going to affect. And But if I'd known now what I knew, if I'd known then what I know now, then I would have grabbed hold of him. But I didn't, and that was the last time I saw him. And he died within 2 weeks. He had another 2 seizures, and it was getting worse. And even though it's horrible to say, he wanted to go. He wanted to go without. He knew the road was going to be really long, and he just said, "If I want to go to sleep and not wake up." It's been tough, mate. But it's I've learned from the first time, and I've tried to stay positive and be there for my mum, and you know what? It's the same old thing, innit? It's better to have. They say it's better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all. And the reason why it's hard is because we had a great relationship. We went everywhere together.
Yeah,
we had some amazing times. And that's what I think about. It makes me smile. Yeah, I miss him, and it's going to be really tough.
I had plenty of nights out with him too, with you.
Exactly.
We had a great laugh.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's. My advice to anybody out there is if you got any problems, that you can sort them out, because when they're gone, they're gone. You got to go out. You got to try and fill in them blank pages of the book of life with great memories. What's
your favourite memory?
I've got loads. I mean, the thing is, my dad had a bit of a tough time, because my dad was in prison when I was young. You know what I mean? He had when I was really young, because he was a bit. That's where I get it from. A bit of a wheeler dealer. You know what I mean? And he wheeled and dealed in the wrong places at times, and got caught. I mean, just some great stories. I mean, I think there was one time he opened a car garage, because my dad could fix anything. Like he put his hands on anything and fix anything. And we didn't have any money. We grew up. He came from a very poor background and stuff. So he learned to do things with his hands. And if he couldn't buy it, he'd make stuff. You know what I mean? And we used to go to the tip, and we'd come back with more stuff, so my dad could fix it. You know what I mean?
Really?
We used to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Even people would be chasing me around the tip. I'd be a little kid. He'd be lowering me in. A bloke, what are you doing? And we go, bollocks to him. Get that over there. Push that bike up here, and then fix it. And he opened a car garage, and he didn't have a license to fix cars, but he could fix cars. So right. And he said that there was a time that this a big princess, they used to drive the royal family around in, like the princess cars, big black princess. This guy dropped it off. My dad said I could have fixed it that afternoon, but I said I'll have to be here all weekend. And then my dad took it out for the weekend with my mum and my uncle, and everywhere they went, people were opening doors for him because they thought they were royalty. He said I lived like a prince for the whole weekend. I
love it. I love that you even did the noise as well, by the way. You did that noise that we've all heard from a mechanic. You went, ooh, that's the noise that starts a sentence that's going to be expensive.
But he had some great stories about even like, because he was a very, very funny man, and he was a very hard man as well, and I had so much respect for him. He was my hero. I looked up to him all my life, and even when he was in prison, he said the stories he'd tell, and I used to sit there listening, and he was telling me a story of a bloke. I think he was called Barbara. He was halfway through a sex change, this guy. And he said, they get a knock on the cell door, and they go, Bill, you coming? We're all going to go and suck Barbara's tits. But I said, it's a bloke. And he said, it's all right, close your eyes. And that was like, I never went. And he said, and then you'd see Barbara in the shower, and he'd have these big boobs, but he still had, and he said he had a massive cock. And he'd be like, Barbara, when you finish with that, give it me. Jesus Christ, if you don't want it, I'll have it.
Oh, God.
Honestly, it's great stories. Just, funny times.
Oh, it was hilarious, your dad. I remember, it was a few times. We went to watch the boxing together. He'd turn up in the green room at Two Pints. You always know when your dad was around, because there'd just be a corner of people. He'd be stood there just holding court, and everyone would be listening to him.
It was a proud man of me, obviously. And we actually did a thing called a parent trip, where we went to Borneo.
Oh, yeah.
It was for TV. I think it was ITV. It was called Parent Trip, and it was you go on like a bonding trip. So me and my dad went.
Wow.
And then we had to go and live with a tribe who used to be cannibals not so long ago.
I can only imagine your dad's face.
Honestly, my dad, because my dad, he's not got like a world palate. So if it comes to eating, it's he doesn't really. He's not that kind of bloke. He's from Moss Side, Manchester lad, and. Quite straightforward. He says what he means, and we got there, and the chief's there and everything, and they've got all this food that they prepared. They eat wild boar brains and tongues, and they eat every part of the animal, and they've got all this food set out in front of my dad. My dad's going, I can't eat this shit. And I said, Dad, they've been waiting all day for us. This is their food. This is their feast. They've probably been preparing all month for this. I mean, I don't give a shit. I cannot eat this. I don't care. I can't do it. I'll be sick. I'm going, Dad, honestly, the Chiefs over there watching, and they're all going like that, and they won't start eating until we do.
It's like Indiana Jones. It's like the beginning of Temple of Doom, where
God.
Willie won't eat. Where they're in the Indian village.
So my dad's like,
you're embarrassing me and you're offending them. Eat.
Exactly. My dad said, "Fuck it, I'll eat the rice. I'll have a bit of rice. How bad can that be?" And it came out as like a bar of soap. Do you know it was all be wrapped in a leaf, so it was like sweaty. You know, like you bit it like a banana. You know what I mean? It's all rice. It was just we go on a hunt then, and then they're saying, right, we're going to teach you to use the blow dart to kill things. You know what I mean? And my dad's in my ear whispering. He goes, "Whatever you do, don't shoot it. We'll have to fucking eat it." Just classic, and you can actually see it if you could go online and find this thing. It's called
What's it called? Parent Trip.
Parent Trip, and it's just unbelievable.
I've got a clear picture of what, because I met your dad. I met Bill like many times after I met you when you were grown. Well, I say grown man. I was 20 and you were like 24. Doesn't feel like we were very grown up at the time. But what was it like as a dad when you were growing up, when you were young?
Well, when we was younger and growing up with my dad, obviously I had 4 older sisters, and it was like 6 years between me and the youngest sister to me, and my dad was sort of in a way as a father can do at times, like, oh, I've got my boy now, I'm gonna make sure he becomes the best he can be, and obviously because he was in prison when I was really young, I think we did so much together. You know, he put me in the boxing ring at 7 years old, and he was there training with me about 3-4 times a week. We go fishing together. You know, we do everything, and he was so supportive of whatever I wanted to do, and he had no right to, really, because of where we lived. There was nobody else wanting to be a performer or an actor or anything like that, and he didn't know anything about it. He just supported me in everything I wanted to do, and he was tough on me at times, don't get me wrong, because obviously he didn't want me to go down the wrong paths, the wrong roads, you know, end up like where he did. And so he was tough on me at the right times, but he supported me like I couldn't believe. And I could see the pride in his face whenever I did anything, you know, achieved anything, or, you know, if we was on a holiday camp at Butlins, or we used to go caravan holidays, and, you know, if we needed a costume, he'd be there in the caravan making the costumes, not just for me, but for my sisters, and getting behind us, practicing the routines, and you know, and encouraging me in the right way, pushing me to, you know, go and get on stage, go on and do it. You know, I know you want to, go and have the courage to do it. And I think seeing that pride on his face, all I ever wanted to do was make him proud after that. And I believe I've done that. And it's just, I don't think, you know, without that support, I'm from my mum as well, I wouldn't be doing and done anything that I've done career-wise. So I suppose, you know, in a way, it's I'm just glad I know I made him proud, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And I think from here on in, now he's not with me anymore, I continue to do so because he lives in me. You know what I mean? And
yeah, in his memory, yeah.
Yeah, and whatever I do, you know, I'll still be thinking, yeah, my dad would be proud of that.
So, yeah. So I guess, I mean, is it fair to say what you're saying then is it's entirely your dad's fault that you can't stop singing Mustang Sally everywhere you go?
Yeah, every talent show.
Cheers, Bill. Look, Bill's fucked off and left the rest of us having to deal with this shit.
When I lost my dad, it was like losing a best friend. I mean, we did everything together, fishing holidays, and, you know, he used to come over to my house and we'd sit up and, you know, and having a drink, watching the football, watching the boxing, and for the late night fights that was on in Vegas, he'd come over and we'd sit up till all hours watching the boxing. And that's the thing is, I want to miss that a lot as well, is, do you know, when the football season starts again and the boxing's on, and it's when the match is about to start, I ring my dad and, are you ready to watch it? What do you think the score's going to be? Or, you know, if there's a big fight, what did you think of that fight? Did you see him get knocked out? Do you know, he was my port of call for that, and that's gone. But I said, that's what I'm saying. It was, we had a great relationship, and as I say, he supported not just me, but and my sisters. I mean, there was a time when, you know, because we didn't have much money when we were younger, my dad made everything. I've said it before, he fixed everything. But, you know, there was a time when I needed an outfit I was doing a performance of the Tin Man or something, some theatre thing. It was the Wizard of Oz, so I was the Tin Man.
I hope so.
And we didn't have any money to buy a costume, so with a can of silver paint and a plastic funnel and a Vitaling dog food bag, a dog food bag, my dad made me a full Tin Man outfit. He was there for hours, and it was amazing. It was a dog food bag, and he made it into like a round with a head bit going in, so it was like a round belly bit.
How? And he turned it inside out so it was silvery or something?
No, he had silver spray. He sprayed it all silver. Got some old trousers and then sprayed them silver.
Wow.
No, but do you know what? He really put the effort in.
Oh, that's amazing.
You
passed out from the fumes after the first hour, but
that's what I'm saying. I think he just wanted the best for us. And you know, especially for me, I think he just wanted to feel proud that he'd done that. And as I say, it wasn't just me. He did that for my sisters. He cut all my sisters' hair and everything. He couldn't cut hair for Toffee, but because we couldn't afford it, there was a time a long time ago when there was a Purdy haircut come out. And all the girls in the street wanted a Purdy, and because we couldn't afford an hairdresser, my dad taught himself how to cut the Purdy haircut. Did it for my sisters. The sisters went out, and there was a knock at the door. There was a queue down the street of all the neighbours' daughters. Can you cut all their hair? My dad sat there cutting their hair. Yeah,
did he start charging? I hope he started charging. He's a Mellor. He loves an edge.
I just think he liked doing things for people.
I have to ask, what's a Purdy haircut?
I haven't got a clue. It was before my time.
Oh wait, no.
It was like
wasn't that Joanna Lumley's
from the Avengers? I think something like that.
From the Avengers. Right, that's what I see. Yeah, that's what you mean.
Yeah, I think.
Can I ask how old were you when he came out of prison?
I was very, very young. I mean, I don't remember.
So you don't really remember?
No, I don't. At all. I don't, and I think he has a lot of regrets, obviously, about prison time because obviously he left my mum with us lot, me and my 4 sisters, without any protection, and he said it at him every time he was in there, and every day he was in there, and he said, "I'll never." I mean, he went to prison because he was trying to find a way of making ends meet. He made a few wrong choices, I suppose, and broke the law and went to prison. But he was doing it to try and put food on the table and give us some money in the pockets because we were struggling. So, but because he went through that, he made sure I didn't. So when he was hard on me, he was hard on me for the right reasons. To make sure you don't end up doing what I did and go out there and live your dreams. And I've achieved it, and I've got him to thank for a lot of it.
Do you ever find with your kids, particularly Jaden, because he's your boy, do you ever find yourself going, "Oh, you're lucky I'm not my dad. You'd have had a clip round the ear hole for that."
So many times. I said, "Do you know what I'd have got for that? Do you know what I'd have got if I'd have broke that? You've had it 2 days, it's broke." I said, "I'd have had that shoved halfway up my ass, that toy."
Prison rules.
No, but honestly, it's true. It's true. But you know what? It's like what you're talking about, because it's a Father's Day thing. When kids changed my life completely, having kids, and I know you haven't got children yet, and you don't know whether that's going to happen for you or not. And that's all by the by, because there's no rules in having kids. But I needed to have children. It changed me for the better in every way. I mean, my kids are my life now. And when I had Jaden, I remember it was a complete switch of, now this is what life's about, and now I'm doing things because it was for me or for whatever I wanted, but then now it's all for my kids and my family, and it's made me a lot weaker as a person because I can't watch anything with kids in without crying. I like a cry. I can't help
it. Mate, you love a cry. You love a cry.
I watched Pursuit of Happiness. Do you know the film Pursuit of Happiness?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I couldn't speak. I was like, "It's the worst." I was crying. I can't believe you made me watch it. My wife was like, "What's the matter with you?" But my son looks like Jaden Smith. He looks just like him, and in the film, oh God, it killed me. And that's what kids do to you. It's innocence. I love innocence, and it's.
Mate, honestly, I've never known such a comedy. You're like, in the boxing ring from when I was 7 and I was quite a handy boxer and I got in a fight, and I've never known such a combination of like a big roughy tufty bloke who fucking pisses crying at every single thing they see.
I have got my dad. My dad was a bit like that. He
was your dad a crier?
Yeah,
was he
did get quite emotional. He wasn't a massive hugger, you know what I mean? Because he was strict, you know what I mean? Well, he was a disciplinarian in the house. But he would always come and apologise. Like, he'd give you a crack for something, and then I'd be laying there in bed, and I couldn't sleep and then he'd come up and he'd stroke me and go, "All right, sorry about that, son," and give me a kiss, and then I could go to sleep. Yeah. Oh, got me a bit choked up saying that then. That's hard. That was a memory, and God. Wow. Yeah, but he was a very funny man, and I remember he was at my sister's wedding or something, and the vicar's giving it one of them speeches, talking to all the parents and everyone out there in the church, and we're all sat there. My dad sat next to my mum, and he says, and the vicar's saying, "When was the last time you had a candlelit meal with your wife?" And my dad went, "When we had a power cut." And everyone just pissed themselves when we had a pissing power cut. Get on with it. It was just hilarious. It was somebody, honestly. It was just, it's a big loss out of my life. I'm going to miss him.
I feel like that's really interesting. Like, I don't know, I lose my temper a lot, but like, it's one thing to lose your temper, but to come and apologise. I didn't, I mean, I didn't know him very well. I met him a handful of times with you, but like, you know, you talk a lot about, you know, he was a disciplinarian, he was strict, and he was a great laugh and everything, but, you know, to have a tender side as well.
He did, yeah. I'm just grateful that you know, I was his son, and we had a great relationship. And even though, listen, he had his flaws, don't get me wrong, nobody's perfect, you know what I mean? But I just knew, I knew he loved me, I knew he cared, and I've lost my best mate, you know, I mean, we did everything together. I'm glad we did, because I'll look back and I'll be able to smile at the great times we had. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Thanks, mate.
It's taken a darker tone than normal, this chat.
Sorry.
It's
sorry.
not. No, but normally there's a lot more laughs, but I quite like it.
Listen, it is what it is. I think if I was in a pub and we were sat having a chat,
this is what we'd be talking about.
Father's Day's coming, and it's just naturally gone where it's gone. And
what would you be doing if your dad was around? What would you have done? Or what would you have said if he was still around now? What would you say?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because, you know, my dad, even though with his when he passed,
or rather, I guess. Sorry, let me refine the question. If he was still around now, you wouldn't know you were going to lose him, so that's irrelevant. But what I mean is, if you could pass him one message, like, and he was around for a day, and you got to say all the things that you still like, is there anything you've left unsaid, do you think?
No, I don't. I really don't, and that's why I've got clarity.
Good for you.
I wish I'd have hugged him that day. That was one thing, big but.
But you couldn't have done, mate.
I couldn't have done because
you couldn't have known.
We didn't know. And the thing was, my dad left messages to my mum because he knew what was going on. He left a message for me and my sisters of how he felt about us, and my mum told me what he'd said about me, and I'm happy with that. And that's that. You know, I'm sorry it's been a bit darker this, but I can't help it. It's we have to talk when we got to talk about things, and. Yeah, I hope some people out there might be going through similar situations. So, yeah.
Well, we should mention again, we're both ambassadors, aren't we, for this mental health charity, the Kaleidoscope Plus group. And their whole thing is to try and provide support. If you go to, what is it, Will Kaleidoscope Plus group, just look it up on Google, I guess.
Yeah. Team KPG.
And you'll get information about who to talk to, where to go, find support that you may need.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad I've spoke about it. You know, it was. I'm glad I'm speaking about it to you because I haven't really gone into much depth about it. But and I'm sorry it's not been laugh a minute this one. But
it's not going to be, is it? It doesn't have to be. Thanks for being so. I hope it's helpful. I hope it's helpful for you to be so forthcoming and so open about it. I know you said it's important to try and make sure that other people feel that they're not going through something alone. But I hope it's been helpful for you too.
Yeah, it has. Doing these podcasts have been helpful because it's it's good to just. I mean, I've had such a laugh talking to you again and having a bit of banter and talking about loads of things and some of the old days and that's good. You know, it's all good for me.
Great.
So yeah, and it's nice because this lockdown has been hard, but being able to do this and using this wizardry that's in front of me, this technology.
It's called a computer. They've been around a while. I haven't got a
clue how it works, but I'm loving it. It's keeping my mind right, and we'll get through it together, mate. And I'm looking forward to when we can have a beer face to face.
All right, mate. Well, it won't be long. If Dominic Cummings can fuck off to a castle, then I'm sure we'll be out and about soon.
Let's just go to a castle. You're allowed to do that, apparently.
Yeah, you're allowed to do that. Well, you've got to check your eyesight, so how else are you going to do it, you know?
Well, my eyesight's fucked. Does that help?
Yeah, great. Go to a castle, check out you're going to be okay to drive, and then we'll see.
Sorted.
All right, mate. Nice one. Stay
Thanks
safe.
for today,
Catch
man.
you for the next one.
Thanks for the chat, pal.
All right. Speak soon.
Ta-ra, mate.